3 years ago, Today Tonight started investigating the dangers of Australian aircraft being serviced overseas. Now, these concerns proved to be correct. What we didn't expect was a $300,000 legal battle from a federal body determined to bury embarrassing reports on airline safety. So tonight, Laura Sparks finally reveals some of the damning information our air safety watchdog wanted kept secret.
You would think that what happened 3 years ago would have been a wake-up call for the airline.
We were right 3 years ago when we first raised serious questions about it.
Use a household staple to repair an aircraft wire. They've gone and shoved a bit of wire in there.
These 95 defects Australian engineers picked up. But that's not competent, is it?
Well, it's not.
More important, we now know that this is still continuing.
It's the information a government authority fought hard to keep secret for 3 years. Internal reports they didn't want you to see about the safety of our planes and the quality of overseas maintenance.
It is only a matter of time before an Australian aircraft that has been serviced in one of the overseas maintenance facilities finds itself in the side of a mountain.
Finally, we have won a 3-year court battle, and tonight we start to reveal the inner workings of our airline safety watchdog, the Civil Aviation Safety Authority, CASA. They're supposed to protect the safety of the flying public, but are they doing their job?
They're not checking the facilities overseas properly.
It's prepared to break its own rules. It's prepared to ignore evidence of major problems.
We can reveal the latest near misses.
Recently, Qantas had an aircraft that landed 200 knots, which is 50 knots over speed, and this is the cause of it. It's the bolt that had actually come out of the flap system.
And continuous defects on Australian planes coming out of overseas maintenance facilities.
Laura, this is a list of the 450-odd defects from an aircraft that was recently in a Singaporean facility.
While fighting hard to keep their documents secret, the battle cost CASA hundreds of thousands of taxpayers' dollars. But the court judgment states CASA failed. The public does have a right to know air safety information. In fact, CASA did its job so badly, the court ordered them to conduct further searches for information we requested. The Seven Network's Freedom of Information editor, Michael McKinnon.
I've been involved in a fair amount of FOI litigation in my career, but I can't recall a case like this where a government agency using taxpayers' money has deliberately delayed, organised further hearings, refused to provide documents.
It all began after this story. Qantas' secret audit documents proving major defects were being missed, and work was simply not done when Qantas planes were maintained in this Singaporean facility.
I just find it bizarre that anyone could even be so imaginative to think that you could use a household staple to repair an aircraft wire.
Is that quality? Staples in electrical wiring?
Are you trying to pretend that every organisation in the world is perfect?
3 years on, CASA admitted in court this year during our legal battle that Qantas planes were being maintained in Singapore before the air safety watchdog had even given the facility their tick of approval. This is against their own regulations.
I think what we've basically established is that CASA and Qantas are working hand in fist to protect each other to make sure they can continue to send aircraft to overseas maintenance facilities that undercut those facilities in Australia and don't put out a quality product.
At the same time Qantas wrote their damning secret audit reports of the Singaporean facility, we've now uncovered the CASA audit of the same facility, written at the same time. Federal Secretary of the Australian Licensed Aircraft Engineers Association, Steve Pavinas, explains.
3 CASA auditors were there at the same time. They come home, write a report, tick all the boxes and say that this facility is exceeding world's best practice.
How can that be?
I don't know how it can be. I don't know how Qantas can say we shouldn't be sending our planes there anymore, yet CASA say that it's honky-dory. It just simply says that they're not doing their job.
On the face of that fact alone, every Australian should be concerned about how CASA is doing its job.
Also revealed in court, those same damning Qantas reports of the Singapore organisation were never officially given to CASA, another breach of their regulations.
Following reports in the media, CASA's one of CASA's most senior officers, went over to Qantas, was shown the report over a table, waved at him. He did not take the report back to CASA. He didn't ask for that report.
CASA's then Director of Safety, Mick Quinn, last year told us they audited overseas maintenance facilities annually.
Well, that is the purpose of the audit, to identify problems. It's very rare for us to go into any organisation, conduct an audit or random surveillance and find nothing.
But contrary to CASA's policy on audits, every report on an overseas maintenance facility that we've uncovered in our legal battle shows hardly anything is found. Most are only carried out over 3 days, yet they spent 2 weeks overhauling a new Brisbane facility.
I suspect that CASA are under a lot of industry pressure to go overseas and give these cheaper maintenance facilities a clean bill of health because they're a cheaper alternative than Australian maintenance facilities.
The union is angry that even this year, major defects are still found on planes coming out of overseas maintenance facilities.
One aircraft that came out of the Hong Kong facility and it had the engine mounts on 3 of its 4 engines weren't fitted correctly, and that certainly is a safety issue.
Is it a major defect?
We've already seen one aircraft go into an apartment block in Amsterdam when one of its engines fell off, and certainly when you don't have your engines mounted correctly, that is a likely outcome.
Just as recently as a few weeks ago, a large bolt, similar to this one, literally fell out and got jammed in the wing flap system of a 767 about to land in Brisbane. It caused a major malfunction. The flaps simply didn't work. It forced the pilot to land the plane at excessive speed, 50 knots over the safe limit. It was just lucky for the passengers that it wasn't raining or foggy.
It certainly had more dire consequences on the Garuda aircraft when most of the passengers at the front of the plane lost their lives.
The plane with the loose bolt had just come out of a heavy maintenance check in Hong Kong.
For a bolt like this to come loose so soon after a heavy maintenance check is absolutely appalling.
Have you ever seen this happen before?
Well, I've never seen a bolt like this fall out of an aircraft. Cracked brackets forward of the left-hand aileron, cracked bracket forward of the right-hand aileron. We've got emergency doors not fitted properly, cracked floor beams, cargo doors incorrectly fitted.
Incorrect screws.
I spent 20 years working on the tools in the industry, and I can't say that I have ever seen a list this extensive of defects on an aircraft after it has been supposedly checked by a heavy maintenance facility.
Remember, these planes have all come out of overseas maintenance facilities, given the CASA tick of approval. The only statement we got from the air safety watchdog about the case stated this was a complex matter and CASA is still considering the findings. If there is no appeal, CASA will comply with the decision and release documents and conduct a further search for documents.
It's just alarming for the travelling public because there really is no other option there. I mean, CASA are the people who are assigned to regulate the industry. There's no alternative, and we're stuck with this body that effectively are not regulating the skies as they should be.
This is not an issue that can be treated lightly. A plane crashes, a lot of people die, and that's why we have a safety watchdog, and that watchdog has to do its job properly.
That's Laura Sparks reporting, and we're now waiting for the hundreds of pages of documents that we've gained access to under Freedom of Information. We'll let you know as soon as we get them. We'll have more after this.
Coming up, the new weight loss miracle.